I remember when I got there to the weigh-in, seeing like 5,000 people, like having not been around more than a couple of people at all, like moved by this amazing thing that we're seeing. Like all these people, like the world is somewhat back to normal because there's 5,000 boxing fans here for a weigh-in in front of this, this great stadium. They did the weigh-in, and then the next night, as you mentioned, it was not 5,000; it was 73,000.
You kind of
Broke the
worked your way up. Dinner for
Yeah,
5,000
yeah.
people, 73,000 people.
Broke the all-time United States indoor boxing record for attendance. It had been set in 1978 by the rematch between Muhammad Ali and Leon Spinks, who had drawn like 65,000 or so to the Superdome in New Orleans, and it was a spectacular night. And I mean, I had covered all the other fights mostly at the AT&T Stadium, and there had never been a crowd that big by any stretch of the imagination. There had been 50,000 ish for Pacquiao, or for Canelo and that sort of thing, but 70 for previous Canelo. And so for this to have 76,000, and for Canelo to put on the kind of performance that he did, where he basically broke Billy Joe Saunders' face, and they pulled him out after the eighth round, and he unified the three titles. Remember, he went into that fight as the WBA and the WBC champion. He took away Billy Joe's WBO title. Billy Joe Saunders, by the way, who says he's going to fight again, still has not fought since then. In 2021, he was 30-0 and undefeated, and a two-division title holder going into that fight. That was also, by the way, the very famous post-fight press conference where Demetrius Andre was there trying to troll for a fight against Canelo. He was very polite about it, actually, but the father got a little mouthy with Canelo, and Canelo, went into meltdown mode and was like, "Get the fuck out of here! Payday, payday, payday."
We knew that Canelo knew the vulgarities in English better English from him in the vulgarity world because of that. And yeah,
I think, by the way, when we look back, and it's hard to say at the moment, you got to kind of wait till the career's over. I feel like when I think about the Billy Joe Saunders fight, and of course, it's fresh in my mind, having just seen Canelo fight against Jaime Munguia this past Saturday. I think that if you go back and draw the chart, the line graph, say, of the great career of Canelo Alvarez, I think that's the peak of his career. I think that's the top of the mountain for Canelo. That everything that he did was tremendous. It was what he did at junior middleweight, the fights with Gennady Golovkin at middleweight, other fights that he had, Kovalev, where he fought at light heavyweight, and then went on the trek to win the super middleweight undisputed title. But I think the apex of his career, when we look back, is going to be that performance with that crowd, the performance against Billy Joe Saunders, the way he stopped him, the way he unified, and the mania that surrounded his career at that time. I think that might be the apex. I think about fighters all the time. Like, I think about Manny Pacquiao, for example, one of the biggest superstars you could ever talk about. The apex of his career, I always think about on the night that he beat Antonio Margarito. Like, he was never going to be better than that night. Like, I don't know if Canelo was ever going to be better than what he did the night he beat Billy Joe. Now, maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe some might disagree and think that another fight earlier in his career was the peak of his career. But I look at that fight, and I think to myself, that's the apex. That's the best Canelo that we will ever see, the best Canelo we ever have seen.
And remember, we had not seen him because of the COVID craziness in 2020, but suddenly, bang, 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 he fought
21.
like what of 20 I'm talking about. He fought bang, bang, bang in like December, correct? Of 20, November, 20. December. Then he fought in February of 21 with Avni Yildirim, which wasn't much of a fight at all. And then he fought this fight in May. I mean, we got 3 Canelo fights literally in a 5-month time period.
And then at the end of the year in 21 and into November, after the Billy Joe fight, that's when he fought Caleb Plant and stopped him. So if you want to talk about the peak, maybe you talk about the Caleb Plant fight also. But it's basically those fights where he became undisputed was the peak of the great career that Canelo has had.